Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's installment of Trenchless Technology webinar series. My name is Mike Kesdy. I'm the managing editor for Trenchless Technology and Trenchless Technology Canada magazines, and I'm pleased to moderate EnviroCure Felt CIPP liner, a breakthrough patent-pending gravity sewer liner that mitigates styrene emissions without losing strength. We're going to take a quick poll, so please submit your answer and then click the blue Return to Presentation button. This time, I would like to remind everyone that any views or opinions presented in this webinar are solely those of the presenters and do not necessarily represent those of Benjamin Media Inc., the publisher of Trenchless Technology magazine, nor does Benjamin Media Inc. endorse any products or methods presented today. Today's discussion, presented by United Felts, a Vortex company, covers the development, history, performance, installation characteristics, third-party styrene testing results, and a series of case studies about the EnviroCure liner. Joining us presenting today is Mark Chandler, Technical Director of United Felts, a Vortex company. As Technical Director at United Felts, Mark is responsible for new product development initiatives from conception to realization across the United Felts and MaxLiner brands. He supports customers with the rollout of new products and oversees the quality control and quality assurance teams. Before joining United Felts, Mark worked in the design and manufacture of composite reinforced fabrics like fiberglass, Kevlar, and carbon fiber. He began his career at a fiber reinforcement solutions provider, where he designed and developed innovative reinforcement fabrics. He later joined a fiberglass fabric company in the role of technical customer service engineer for North and South America. In this role, Mark provided customers with technical support, led special projects, and traveled internationally to expand into new markets. During this webinar, I encourage that you be interactive. By this, I mean jot down any questions you may have, and at the end of Mark's presentation, we'll jump right into live Q&A and answer as many questions as possible. So with that, I'd like to turn things over to Mark. Take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and good morning to our West Coast friends out there who have taken time out of your day to join us. We're happy to introduce and answer questions related to our EnviroCure Felt product offering. This is a one-of-a-kind liner solution that has an integrated styrene barrier which mitigates styrene emissions in traditional CIPP installations. So today we're going to go through basically a company overview that outlines the history of our organization, a product overview that the steps that led us to creating this product. Then we will focus on some styrene emission studies and technical data related to the EnviroCure Felt product. First of all, a company overview. So United Felts' history is rooted in the same time frame as the invention of the CIPP process. CIPP was invented in England in the 1970s, early 1970s. Actually, I believe the first install was in 1971 in London. But our legacy owners of the company, W.E. Rawson, and then eventually Applied Felts, were the suppliers to the materials used in the first CIPP liners installed in England at the advent of this technology. As the market continued to grow, Applied Felts expanded to the United States in 1997 by setting up our operation here in Martinsville, Virginia. Then as we moved forward into 1999, a new division was started, MaxLiner, which focuses on our smaller diameter lateral lines and vertical pipe rehabilitation products. As we move into 2019, Applied Felts acquired Fairtech Solutions, and that allows us to provide wet out liners with a nationwide footprint. Then in 2023, the Vortex companies acquired Applied Felts, Fairtech Solutions, and MaxLiner. And from this, our new entity, United Felts, was created. So as of 2024, we are now known as United Felts, and we had a major milestone in January of 2024. The 100,000th liner was produced from our Martinsville, Virginia facility. And that puts us at over 200 million feet of liner manufactured through this facility since its inception in 1997. And also this year, we have rolled out our new UV liner portfolio. So we have solutions for the UV market as well as traditional CIPP, inversion, and drag-in liners. Applied Felts is known for its manufacturing excellence. All of the products we use in the manufacture of our liners are built here in-house, so we can control the quality from the incoming raw materials. We can develop new products. We can, we can develop new products, integrate new materials into our products, such as our fiberglass reinforced felts and traditional felts. Applied Felts has a 28-point quality QA/QC process. So we are monitoring and measuring the quality of our products from raw material incoming until the finished products are created and ready to ship to the customers. We also have a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, so we spare no expense with keeping up to date with the most modern equipment and machinery needed to produce quality CIPP products. And all of our liners undergo rigorous testing, and we're there hand in hand with our customers to design and develop CIPP liners that we are selling. Applied Felts offers a comprehensive list of liner solutions. So for any particular job you're looking for, we have a liner solution for you. We have our standard felt products, which can be used in both inversion and pull-in-place applications. There are many coating options available for the inversion and pull-in-place liners, polyurethane, polypropylene, PVC, polyethylene. All of those coatings are available based upon a customer's preference. We have our United Glass PS product, which is designed for pressure pipe applications. We also have our RP fiberglass product, which is designed to have higher flexural strength and flexural modulus performance to reduce the thickness of liners. And we have the EnviroCure felt product, which we're here to discuss in depth today. And the two newest product offerings from United Felts are the UV GRP product and our EnviroCure UV product line. So within our organization, we are located across the U.S., so we're able to deliver both wet and dry liners to customers located throughout the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So we have manufacturing facilities located here in Martinsville, Virginia. So United Felts and Max Liner are headquartered out of Martinsville. We have our robotics and technology division in Greenville, South Carolina, and polymerics and mortars in Salt Lake City, Utah. Our home office is in Houston, Texas. And we also have regional wet out facilities in Montana, New Jersey, Virginia, Florida, and Houston, Texas, with more of these to come in the future. United Felts is a trusted provider of infrastructure solutions. This is one of the projects that we're very proud of. We were chosen and contracted to perform sewer relining and manhole rehab on Liberty Island in New York. So this was a very neat project for us. So we were able to come in and work at nights to not disrupt the traffic onto the island. In most cases, there are generally 20,000 visitors per day that come to this island in order to visit the Statue of Liberty. So if this would have been an open cut job, tourism would have been disrupted for 2 to 3 months on the island. But by choosing our products, the visitors were still able to come to the island and enjoy the Statue of Liberty. So we're very proud of this one. This was a kind of a landmark project for us. And you can see it's quite a beautiful view for the guys there working at night. So let's get into the product overview for the EnviroCure lining system. First, we'll start with kind of an understanding of what the product is and how we embarked on the process of developing this material. So the EnviroCure felt is a revolutionary polymer coating consisting of multiple materials that are directly extruded onto our in-house made felts. This system mitigates styrene permeation through the coating, which will in turn keep styrene from the curing medium. So how did we get to the development of the EnviroCure felt? In 2017, Purdue University published a paper addressing concerns with styrene emissions and health impacts for CIPP lining, particularly steam-cured CIPP liners. So as a reaction from the CIPP industry as a whole, NASCO, who partners with quite a few CIPP installers and manufacturers in the world, or in the US, started their 3-part study investigating some of the findings of the Purdue study. So the first NASCO study did mitigate some of the misleading claims from the Purdue study, but also confirm legitimate concerns around crew safety and styrene emissions for CIPP steam cured. It was at this point that we were, at the time we were still applied felts, we started the process of investigating what can we do to incorporate a styrene barrier material into CIPP lining. So this was taking place in 2020. Also in 2020, NASCO released the second part of its styrene study that was related to emission exposure effects of public and workers. Then in 2021, our R&D efforts led to the first generation EnviroCure felt, and we did a case study or a test in conjunction with Purdue University and Indiana University, Indianapolis, that is IUPUI, and they were able to find that the EnviroCure coating significantly reduced styrene emissions on job sites. Following in 2023, NASCO completed its third and final styrene study, which was related to styrene emissions within refrigerated storage containers used to transport wet liners to job sites. And then in 2024, United Felts was able to secure a patent pending for our EnviroCure felt product. This EnviroCure product has subsequently been installed successfully, and the diameter ranges from 8-inch to 60-inch. And currently there are more than 600,000 feet of this product installed in the ground. How the EnviroCure material works. So as I described earlier, this is a multi-component extrusion material, and embedded within the multiple layers is a styrene barrier material. So we have a particular polymer that works very well to prevent styrene molecules from diffusing through the coating and into the curing media, thereby mitigating styrene emissions from steam cure as well as water cure. And the results, enhanced crew safety. When this material is transported to the job sites in the back of a reefer truck, the styrene is not permeating through the coating. So when the doors are opened on the refrigerated storage trucks, there's minimal styrene emissions. And also we've been able to mitigate the styrene emissions during the installation process. So the steam plume, which was identified in some of the previous studies as having high potential styrene emissions, this EnviroCure coating keeps styrene from the steam plume as well as the cured water for water inversions and hot water curing. So the anatomy of the EnviroCure material. On layer 1, we have the styrene and permeable coating that's applied to the inner felt layer. As we build the liner, this is on the outside, but as during installation, the coating now becomes the inner diameter of the hose pipe. The second layer, so multiple layers of polyester felt can be added in order to increase the liner thickness to the required design thickness. In addition to polyester felt, we can include layers of our fiberglass reinforced felt if the pressure sewer or the RP products are an option for this particular job. And the third layer is an optional pre-liner. The pre-liner is not necessarily required for the EnviroCure system, but it does work quite well to prevent any sort of styrene emissions from transferring up lateral connections, or to also contain raw resin that may be present in the down tube or the inversion tail of the liner. So why choose the EnviroCure felt? The EnviroCure felt will mitigate styrene emissions and odors seen at the job site, in addition to mitigate styrene emissions when the refrigerated truck doors are open, increasing crew safety. It's a cost-effective alternative to styrene-free resins. We'll get more into comparing styrene-free resin costs to traditional resin costs in later slides. It's compatible with the traditional installation methods, so there's no additional equipment needed to install these liners. So our contractors who purchase this product do not need to change their installation process, their wet out process. This liner behaves and acts just like traditional CIPP. We maintain the structural integrity and performance to the same as traditional liners. You're not losing any strength because you're using the same resin systems that you're accustomed to. So it's versatility in application. This product can be used in storm drains, sewer pipes, and industrial rehabilitation. And there's also the community and environmental benefits because there's minimized odor and emissions on the job site for the general public who may be around the installation sites. So these are some of the different requirements that we've seen in project bids coming out recently, which in these particular specification requirements are coming from non-styrene resin specs that we've seen some cities beginning to publish. And this is how the EnviroCure felt system will address those particular requirements. So we're starting to see more and more specifications that say no styrene shall be in the resin. You have to use a styrene-free polyester, vinyl ester, or an epoxy system. With the EnviroCure lining system, we still satisfy the requirements of the ASTM 1216 for inversion liners and F1743 for pull-in-place liners without having to change the resin system because we're controlling styrene emissions. We're also seeing that some manufacturers contractors have to follow a manufacturer's odor mitigation plan. With the EnviroCure felt, the odor is contained within the liner itself, so there's no need for an additional odor plan. Let's see. How to prevent water cures. Prevent styrene from water cures from entering the waterways. With the EnviroCure felt, the styrene never gets into the cure water, so there's no need for additional treatment before it's released. The same goes with the discharge plan into the combined sewers. If you can keep the styrene out of the cure water itself, there's no need to have a separate water discharge plan. And we've also seen the need for a 15-foot physical barrier around the job site, particularly access pits, manholes. It's still always a best practice to keep that perimeter in place just for public safety, worker safety, but that is not required for odor or styrene mitigation within that 15-foot barrier. The liner is actually containing the styrene within the 15-foot barrier. So here we're comparing and contrasting liner designs with styrene-free resin versus traditional enhanced polyester resin in the EnviroCure felt. We've put together kind of a mock design for a 24-inch sewer pipe that's 12 feet deep to invert, 6 feet, the water table 6 feet below the surface, typical soil modulus, soil density, live loads, and designed this pipe according to ASTM 1216, the 2022 version. With the styrene-free resin, the short-term design modulus is typically 250,000, whereas the enhanced polyester resin, 400,000 is a more common design value. The short-term flexural strengths are roughly the same, but by using the higher flexural modulus for the enhanced resin, the required liner thickness is 8.8 millimeters for the traditional enhanced polyester resin, whereas it would be 10.3 millimeters for a styrene-free resin. Then if you bring that down to the next table, the resin rate required for each of these liners, 4.1 pounds per foot for the styrene-free. It has a little bit lower specific gravity, so your pounds per foot is somewhat lower, compared to 4.6 feet for the 24 by 8.8 millimeter liner with enhanced resin. The resin cost per pound, the average bid price is where you're going to fall with the enhanced resin. With the styrene free, this product is typically 2.5 to 3 times more expensive than what you see with enhanced resins. Therefore, your resin cost per linear foot is 2 to 3 times the bid price of what most owners are accustomed to. And imagine if you have $1 million budget for infrastructure lining. By requiring a styrene-free resin, you're cutting the total footage that you're going to be able to line within that budget significantly, especially when the styrene-free resin, if you are requiring that, is 2 to 3 times the cost of traditional enhanced polyester resins. So to kind of sum it all up, the cost savings for EnviroCure are quite significant. So it's up to 75% less when using the EnviroCure material as compared to a styrene-free resin liner. There's no significant strength loss because we're still using the same resins that most CIPP installers and utility owners are accustomed to. There's no additional equipment investment required by the contractors. They are ready to go with this product with what they're currently using in their CIPP installations. And it's a smart and proven choice. There's 600,000 feet of this material in the ground already. A little bit of technical data. We can certainly share these the data sheets and any other information on this liner. If you email us at info@unitedfelts.com, we'll be more than happy to share submittal packages and all technical data related to the product. So this material adheres to ASTM 1216 for inversion, as well as 1743 for pull-in applications. So this material behaves just like traditional liners. All we've done is incorporate a styrene barrier to limit the styrene emissions. And in the picture to the left, this was from one of our case studies we're going to get into in the next few slides. You can see the styrene monitor on site measuring styrene in the steam plume. So we have some third-party testing here. We've got 3 studies. We're going to dive deep into test number 1 in the following slides, but this was conducted with a Midwestern energy and utility company in, November of 2021. And the results of this test showed that there was less than 1 part per million at multiple testing points throughout the job and installation site. We were collaborating with the IUPUI, that's Indiana University, Purdue University at the Indianapolis campus. We had graduate students from the polymer science and mechanical engineering departments on site conducting this test. We also performed another study with an installation contractor in Fairfax County, Virginia. They were installing 8-inch EnviroCure liners, and they found that less than 4 parts per million of styrene content were found at multiple places throughout the installation site and crew work areas. And we have one water study that we conducted with an installation crew in Florida where they were monitoring the cure water. So we have test results from the actual cure water before heating, during heating, and at cool down. And these tests show that less than 5 parts per million were found within the water throughout different stages of the water cure testing. So to dig a little deeper into the Midwestern Utilities and Energy Company, this study took place over 2 days, and we were installing 4 separate installations, 12-inch by 6-millimeter EnviroCure liner. The total footage of those 2 shots was 740 feet. And we also installed 24-inch by 9-millimeter EnviroCure. The length of those 2 installations was 730 feet. So the EnviroCure felt was installed down the street. The graduate students had styrene monitoring devices set up at the inversion manhole in 5-foot increments away from the manhole. So we had rings at 5 feet, 10 feet, and 15 feet where they had multiple styrene measuring devices. And the same at the tail end of this inversion. And they also had a clean out opened, and where we were measuring styrene content coming up a clean out into a lateral. So during the CIPP process, and within all the measuring devices, the styrene content was always found to be less than 1 part per million. So as the reefer truck doors were open, less than 1 part per million styrene was found. At the manholes, at the liner entry points and exit points, during heating and cooking, less than 1 part per million styrene was measured. The same goes with the cooling process. After cooling, less than 1 part per million styrene content was measured around the 5-foot incremental rings at the manholes. And at strategic places around the job site perimeter, less than 1 part per million styrene was measured. And now we would like, and now it's time for a question and answer, but first we would like to invite everyone to the 2nd annual Vortex Open House. It's going to be in Greenville, South Carolina from September 17th and 19th. We will have EnviroCure liner there on hand, so you can actually come and meet it in person, get your hands on it, ask all the questions that you would like about this material on site in Greenville, South Carolina. With the email, you can email Katie Stansel and for more information or to RSVP to the event. And you can contact Applied Felts at info@UnitedFelts or visit our website for further questions.
Great. Well, thank you, Mark, for that overview of EnviroCure. We appreciate it. As Mark mentioned, we're going to switch over to the Q&A portion of today's presentation. As a reminder, you can enter questions in the panel in the left-hand portion of your screen. We'll try to get to as many of these as we can in the next 30 minutes. And anything we don't get to will be addressed offline via email. So first of all, Mark, how are vacuum holes patched during wet out? Is it with heat or is it with a solvent?
So this would be patched with a heated system, whether it is a Drader gun type repair, or we can provide the EnviroCure film that can be used to repair vacuum holes and resin injection ports during the wet out process. So this is a heat-based patch versus a solvent-based patch.
So working in Southern California, is there compliance with the Green Book specifications?
This product has been submitted for a Green Book, but it is not yet accepted. So we're working on getting this product approved through California Green Book.
If a pre-liner isn't used, what would contain the styrene odor from traveling up to the lateral?
In general, you shouldn't have styrene traveling up the lateral if proper P-traps are in place. But we do highly recommend using a pre-liner for lateral heavy lines. So anytime you're going into a job site where you know there's multiple connections, we absolutely recommend using a pre-liner. And we can certainly make recommendations to the proper material there.
In traditional styrene CIPP, what is the typical parts per million?
I am not 100% certain on that question, but it's really going to be variable because the styrene content and resin is within a range, so that will affect your parts per million.
Can you share with us what the thickness of the liner is after installation on 8-inch to 15-inch pipes?
So that depends on the ordered thickness. So at United Felts, we provide liners that meet or exceed the ordered thickness. So it depends on what you order, but typically for 8 to 15-inch liners, that thickness is going to range from 4.5 millimeters up to 9 to 12 millimeters on the thick side. But it all depends on how thick the site conditions require the liner to be with ground load, water, the groundwater level, things of that nature.
So as the years go on, does the styrene barrier wear out, allowing deferred release of the styrene?
Once the liner is cured, the styrene is basically consumed during the curing process, and any unconsumed styrene is encapsulated within the cured laminates. So there's no real residual release of styrene after cure. So once the coating would eventually wear, there would be no significant styrene emissions.
I know you touched on this briefly there at the end, but who can attendees contact to get more information about the EnviroCure felt? Was the best
so
way to get more info?
You can reach out at info@unitedfelts.com to request more information, and we can certainly provide more information in terms of submittals, technical data sheets, as well as prints from the case studies that we discussed during the webinar.
Is the EnviroCure liner UV cured or steam cured?
Steam cured. We do also have an EnviroCure UV product offering.
So did the styrene emissions also being measured at the location of the laterals? This question goes on to say that the slide shows the measurements were taken at the manholes. So
yes, and
they're asking where it was measured.
Yes, in the Midwestern study, we actually did, the contractor we were working with, they built a mock kind of lateral connection. So we were measuring styrene at a clean out from the lateral connection that they put in place for this testing. And that styrene content at that point was still less than 1%. I'm sorry, less than 1 part per million.
Gotcha. Is there some place where attendees can access the 2021 case study, or can that be shared with the audience?
If you reach out to us, we can certainly discuss sharing that amongst the attendees here. So yeah, just reach out to us individually if you would like more detailed information. We can certainly go over that with you on a one-on-one basis.
Great. So considering EnviroCure for a culvert rehab, if there's no layer between the host pipe and the resin saturated felt, what prevents the raw resin from migrating downstream and potentially polluting a water body?
That would be one of the applications that we would recommend the pre-liner to encapsulate the raw resin during that curing process. And then once cured, the styrene, for all intents and purposes, is captured or consumed during the polymerization or curing of the resin.
Right. Using this product without a pre-liner and installing using F1216, how is the styrene exposure minimized to the lateral connections?
Without the pre-liner, there's still the opportunity for the lateral connections to experience their interfacing with raw resin. So that would rely on the P-traps for the utilities or the structures to prevent any sort of migration into a lateral. That's why we certainly recommend the pre-liner for jobs that are going to have lateral connections.
So with the EnviroCure product, during the curing methods, do they need to be adjusted? I.e., do you need a longer duration or higher temperatures to cure?
With the EnviroCure liner?
Yes.
No. With the EnviroCure liner, you follow your standard resin manufacturer's curing profiles. And with the styrene-free resin, we have learned that typically it does take longer to cure, but with the EnviroCure liner and traditional CIPP resins, there is no change to recommended curing times.
All right. How does the product handle being inverted through multiple structures?
So far, we've had no issues with going through multiple, I would say, double shots, multiple structures. Middle manholes performs quite well.
And then when curing around elbows or curves, does the EnviroCure felt cause any issues with thinning?
As with any CIPP, there's typically wrinkles that are involved going around bends, just the nature of CIPP in general and not exclusive to EnviroCure. But yeah, anytime you go around a bend, the inner radius is prone to have some wrinkling occur.
How much infiltration should be removed from the hose pipe or EnviroCure installation to ensure that there is no resin loss?
In general, you don't want active infiltration in any CIPP lining, but to what degree it will not differ from what you're accustomed to with standard CIPP. There's no real difference between EnviroCure and regular CIPP in terms of handling water infiltration.
Can you touch on, are there specific installers for this product, or could any CIPP contractor order this product if it's specified for a project?
Yeah, any CIPP installer can order this material from us. So there is no restrictions upon who we would choose to sell this product to.
And then can you speak to the product availability? Is it only in the United States, or is it available outside of the US as well?
The product is manufactured in the United States currently, but we can certainly export this material in liner form.
Right. Can you touch on what you meant when you said that the styrene is consumed? What process consumes it?
It's a cross-linking process in the polymerization of the resin itself. So it's a joining. I'm not a chemistry expert, so I might not have the terms exactly, but it's a cross-linking component between the resin itself.
Mm-hmm. In some instances, a liner is cured outside of the recommended curing temperature. Can the protective coating also handle uncertainties during installation?
Yes, this coating can certainly handle fluctuations in temperature. I mean, I think our recommendation is up to 290 degrees Fahrenheit, which if you for steam curing. So anything under that should be fine for the coating.
All right. I don't know if you can get into the cost, but somebody has a question here. What is the typical cost of a pre-liner in an 8-inch line?
It depends on the material selection for the particular cost, but yeah, I don't have that in front of me, but that's something we could certainly explore if they want to send that question in to us. We can try to get a better answer there.
Does a crew need to purchase any special equipment or training to install the EnviroCure product?
No. So this will handle like typical CIPP liners that a trained crew is accustomed to using day in and day out. So slight differences in the wet out process, as someone asked about the patching. That's the only significant difference between this product and our common CIPP liners.
Gotcha. What pipe bend radius can be tolerated in relation to the pipe diameter?
45-degree angles are quite easily negotiated. It's tight 90-degree bends that can give liners problems, and that's not exclusive to EnviroCure. That is just CIPP in general. But there are techniques to perform those tight bends in a 90-degree radius. 45s generally don't present issues. It's the 90s or hard 90-degree bends that can cause problems, and we can install inversion aids within those pipes to help get them around the bends. Smaller diameters are more difficult to get around a bend than say a larger diameter in most cases. Smaller diameter, 8-inch, 6-inch, 10-inch.
Okay. Here we have a follow-up question to the pre-liner cost question. So is the pre-liner a significant cost increase or not much over the total project?
It is not much when bought in bulk, when you can buy large rolls of pre-liner materials. So it doesn't significantly add cost to the overall project.
You shared some case studies regarding the styrene emissions and things like that. Have there been any studies conducted on EnviroCure CIPP liners shelf life?
No, there hasn't been to date. But these case studies that we've done thus far, I mean, they were the liners were wet out exclusively for these projects. So, I mean, the shelf life is probably 7 to 14 days, which is quite common for CIPP. But we have not conducted an extended shelf life study with the material in a wet condition.
Right. You mentioned that the linear footage installed to date. Not many municipalities are requiring styrene-free resins yet. So what parts of the country are you seeing most of this liner being installed?
Generally, most of this has been installed in the East Coast thus far, so along the eastern seaboard. But we do have several large diameter projects that have been conducted on the West Coast. The 60-inch liner we installed was an industrial application in Washington State. And some of our other larger diameters were installed in Northern California, 42-inch, 48-inch, 54-inch liners. Those were all in Northern California.
Is there a max segment run length for EnviroCure liners?
Our only limitation in terms of length is transportability. So as long as we can fit it onto a truck and get permits to ship it, there's no real limitation on the length that we can produce.
Gotcha. What is the cost of EnviroCure liner compared to your regular liners?
I can't really speak to that. That would be something that you reach out to us on the info email, and we can certainly have someone discuss the pricing with you. So it's all going to depend on the diameter and the thickness. So those are the drivers in liner costs.
Gotcha. So this is a follow-up to the question about the styrene barrier working with UV. Does United Felts have a UV system where the UV will cure through the styrene barrier? Sorry, I'm just reading it the way that it was written coming in.
Yeah. No, all UV systems have internal styrene barriers. That's kind of the heart of that particular liner type. So internal styrene barrier, external styrene barrier. So yes, so UV light can pass through a styrene barrier.
Gotcha. Does the styrene measurement stay less than 1 ppm throughout the entire curing process?
It does within the steam plume and cure plume. We have seen some instances where a pre-liner was not used and you have raw exposed resin, and you do see some fluctuations in the reading. It's not really a product of the liner itself. It's just exposed resin that's not contained. But when best practices are used, yes, you do see stable, very, very low readings on styrene measurements.
Gotcha. You're talking about the 60-inch max diameter for EnviroCure. Is that based on technical limitations? Or what is that based on?
That is the largest we've made thus far. So that is not our maximum. That's just the largest we've built to date. So we can explore larger diameter. If someone would like to discuss that project with us, we would certainly engage them in it.
Gotcha. Touching on the job site perimeter, you had mentioned the 15 feet. Is that the circumference? How is that 15 feet measured?
Yeah, it's a 15-foot circumference from the entry manhole or exit manhole. So, I'm sorry, 15 feet diameter away.
All right. How does the coating deal with blistering?
So we have an outer skin coating on this material that withstands very high temperatures. So it does well with steam curing to resist blistering. It's basically a skin of a traditional CIPP coating that we've embedded the barrier material in. So commonly used outer skin.
Gotcha. So there's a question. It says, you indicated styrene-free resins have less strength than styrenated resins. I know it's far more expensive, but is it less strength is the question. Sorry.
We typically see that styrene-free resins have lower advertised flexural properties than traditional CIPPs, CIPP resins. So that is what we're basing our statements around.
All right. What is the compression strength and flexural modulus for this product?
The flexural strength and flexural modulus are going to be typical for enhanced resins if that's what you use. So the felt liner itself is a carrier for the resin, so it will follow the typical performance of the resin system used unless we integrate fiberglass fabric into the system.
Great. Can you touch a little bit on what kind of pipe EnviroCure can be used in, CMP, RCP, etc.?
Yes, it can be used through multiple host pipe materials. We've lined corrugated metal pipes. We've lined clay pipes, concrete pipes. I mean, there's no real limitation on the pipe material itself as to what we can line.
Mm-hmm. Going forward, will all of the United Felts liners be manufactured with this new barrier product?
No, we are still manufacturing our traditional products, polyurethane coated liners, polypropylene coated liners, polyethylene coated liners, and we can even provide PVC coated liners.
All right. Here's a long question. So in creating EnviroCure, you basically swapped out a plastic, PA, PE, PVC foil with a polymer coated felt foil layer to encapsulate the resin impregnated portion of your CIPP liners. How does your product compare to those plastic foil systems already on the market, as opposed to the comparison of the styrene-free resin systems?
That's a big one. I might have to read that one and answer that one offline. But yeah, it's a similar coating process. It's just the integrated barrier that keeps the styrene from permeating into the cure medium. So we'll finish that one up after the show.
Yeah, and as a reminder to everybody, any questions that we don't get to here in the next few minutes will be answered offline via email. So if we didn't get to your questions, no worries. The folks at United Felts and Vortex will be back to you after the webinar. So are the typical inversion pressures any higher for the EnviroCure than traditional felt liners for gravity lines?
No, we have found that they fall very close in line with our normal product offerings.
Right. Then, is there any lifespan reduction with this product? The question is, does this product reduce the lifespan of the product? So I'm not 100% sure what's.
Gotcha. Well, in general, all CIPP is designed for a minimum of a 50-year service life, 50-year performance. But there's no reduction when using the EnviroCure coating as compared to any other CIPP.
Great, thanks. And then you touched on this a little bit before. Can you also have a UV version? Can you kind of reiterate that? Because another question come through about UV curing with this liner.
Yes, so we have a EnviroCure UV is one of our systems. It's an UV cured, and this particular liner system is different from other UV liners in that it forms dimples and laterals. So it's much easier to find your service connections, go in and reconnect service connections as compared to other UV liners on the market.
All right. Looking at temperature range, what is the temperature range that EnviroCure CIPP liner can be used for? And are there any chemical compatibility issues with EnviroCure CIPP liner?
So in terms of chemical compatibility, no, there's no real difference between this and any other liner on the market in terms of chemical compatibility. In terms of, I think they're asking about effluent temperature, and that is based on the resin itself, how well the resin is able to maintain its structural integrity at elevated temperatures. There are, multiple different resin options that can be used to address the need if higher temperature performance is a requirement for that particular project. So you might want to get into a vinyl ester resin versus a standard polyester resin if elevated temperatures is a requirement for the job.
Wonderful. Well, we're coming up on the end of the hour here. We had a lot of great questions that we got to. Appreciate you taking the time to answer those. There's several more in here that we weren't able to address in our time together. And as I mentioned, we will get answers to those questions following today's webinar. I'd like to take this time to thank Mark for his presentation and his time today. And thank you to United Felts and the Vortex Company for sponsoring today's webinar. I'd also like to thank everybody for joining us live today and being interactive. If you'd like to refer to this webinar, you can do so at any time by visiting trenchlesstechnology.com/webinars and selecting today's webinar from the on-demand webinars section. You'll be able to find it there for the next year. As a reminder, any views or opinions presented in today's webinar are solely those of the presenters and do not necessarily represent those of Benjamin Media Inc., the publisher of Trenchless Technology magazine, nor does Benjamin Media Inc. endorse any products or methods presented today. With that, this concludes today's edition of the Trenchless Technology webinar series. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.